Okay, hi everyone. Good morning. I'm Michelle. I'm introducing our speaker today. I'm an event coordinator at Exhibition Place in Toronto, and I'd like to welcome you to the Creating a Sustainable event session. Our speaker today is Natalie Lowe. Natalie is a CMM and owns a DMC in Niagara for the last 15 years. She attended Ryerson for hospitality and tourism and is an active in the events industry. In 2011, her hometown of Slave Lake, Alberta burnt to the ground due to a wildfire made possible by climate change. Natalie created a course on sustainable events that is used at Ryerson University and founded the Sustainable Events Forum in 2019. In 2020, she became a certified climate realty leader. We'd like to welcome Natalie to our Rethink event today. You saw a little bit of behind the scenes there of us getting started, but at this time, I'd like to pass the mic to you for the session. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you, Michelle, and you did great. I didn't know you were going to read the great big whole long one. I usually just say it's not important who I am. What is important to know about me is that I'm not a sustainability person. I'm an events person, and it was a real wake-up call when my hometown burnt down. That'll get your attention if nothing else does. And so I'm sad to say that it actually still took me 8 years. My hometown burnt down in 2011. And by 2019, I realized that things weren't moving fast enough and I needed to, or I thought I needed to jump in and help get things moving. I also got a little bit scared because we had gone 3 or 4 years without any snow at Christmas time. And that was new for me, and it served as a real wake-up call. So this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to quickly go through a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm going to tell you things that we have found through the Sustainability Events Forum are really important, and things that we do that maybe aren't as important as we think they are. So let's get right into it. Yes, I'm Natalie. Yes, I run the Sustainable Events Forum. You're going to see Maureen Peets in here. I run it with a whole team of people. It's not just little old me. Candice Tulsaram is my partner in this. She answered the call. And there's about 10 of us in the events industry that sort of work on bringing this forward and helping each other. And we're always looking to make the circle wider. So I'm looking forward to the next one, which is actually going to be in October. Just want to confirm, it's still asking me if I want to screen share, and I've said yes. So I think it's okay, but if you can't see it, someone just let me know. Oh, and I think what I did was I shared it twice.
Natalie, I'm just coming back here as we've lost your video and audio. Hopefully you can hear me to get your screen share back on with video and audio. We apologize for the technical glitch, but we'll get her back on this.
Can you see me and hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
I apologize. So let me try this again. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go into presenter view. So you'll be able to see it won't look as pretty, but hopefully we'll have a little bit more control over it. So the first thing that I want to ask you is, if you were to leave an LED light bulb on, or you were to do a load of clothes in the dryer, how long do you think each of those would take? And what do you think sort of the equivalency of that is? So one load of clothes in the dryer versus leaving a light bulb on for how many hours? The answer is actually going to shock you. The answer is, and this comes from a mom who's yelled at her kids to turn off that light, but very easily uses the dryer for everything. You can actually leave an LED light bulb on for 13 days, equal the energy that it takes to do a load of laundry in the dryer. And so one of the things that we find is that we are being very careful about our use of lights and not worrying so much about the dryer because it's in the basement or behind a closet and we can't see it. The second one is the equivalency of how many years you could go plastic free versus the number of years that you could go meat free. So this one, again, because we're so focused on plastics in our industry, and plastics are not good in any way, shape, or form. They create microplastics, which are not a good thing for your body. And every mom knows we're so careful about what we put into our body. We're going vegan and organic in so many ways. You would need to go plastic free, completely plastic free, for 11 years to equal 1 year of going meat free. Now, I say this as a woman who grew up in Alberta and is a huge beef lover. And I realized that we could just cut back on our meat consumption. I will reluctantly cut back on my consumption of beef, and know that I have uncles who are cattle ranchers in Alberta who all they say to me is go quality over quantity, and they're okay with that. So then the third one that I wanted to sort of look at with you was the number of kilometers. So let's take the same amount of carbon emissions, how far you could go in a hybrid car versus going 150 kilometers in a traditional combustion car. And this one also surprised me, but not in the same way. You can only go 260 kilometers in a hybrid car for the amount of energy that you output in a traditional combustion car. So, for all of those people who taunt me for not having a hybrid car, I actually gave up my vehicle, but that's a different story. The savings weren't quite as big as I thought they would be. I thought it would make a huge difference. And so when we push this concept of the vehicle, the reality is a lot of the emissions that come from the vehicle are actually from the manufacturing of the vehicle. So a couple of interesting things to kind of help us understand that what we think about is often what we can see, and we forget about sort of the hidden things. So when you look at plastics at your events and everyone gets all excited about straws, the reality is most of the plastics coming in through the loading dock, not actually out front where your attendees can see it. So let's look at why I thought we should do, hold on, there we go. Why I thought that we should take sustainability very serious at events. And it's not because our carbon footprint is huge, actually. Our carbon footprint is not small. Certainly the travel is huge, but when you compare it to something like the industry actually that gives off the most is the construction industry through the creation of cement. Cement is like a very bad, not good thing for the earth. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But because I think when people go to events, we're open to new ideas. And because people are open to new ideas, you as event planners have a really good opportunity to change patterns and behaviors through those three ways. One is an expectation of something new. The third way is that when people see a big group of people doing something, we go into herd mentality. The nice word for it is social norming. But then also the last one is there's usually very little investment on the part of the attendee. They're simply following a path that you've created for them. So what we want to try and do is create a path that they're going to follow when they go home. So that's how I think events are going to be key to helping us address climate change. So now we're going to get, you listen to my blah, 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 and now we're going to get to the meat. We are going to talk about how to become a sustainability ninja in 20 minutes or less. So you have to do three things. You have to understand enough. So there needs to be enough education to make some smart choices. Then you have to actually make those smart choices, which means I need to rethink my relationship with my dryer. And then we need to influence other people. And when I did the climate reality training, one of the things that they asked us to do was to make sure that we were talking to people about sustainability issues. And now we're going to go in and look at how you can understand the smart choices better, how you can make them easier, and how you can influence your attendees to start prioritizing this. So these smart choices are in, sorry, I have to keep flipping between screens. What is, there we go. Okay, so easy, right? Reduce your carbon emissions, support carbon sinks, pass it on. So you're gonna say, well, what is reducing your carbon emissions anyways? Think of it like you're on a carbon diet, and emissions are your calories, right? And so you want to have fewer calories. And carbon sinks are like that thing that we do when we go on a diet where we exercise. It gets rid of the extra calories. So carbon sinks are anything that hold and trap carbon. And it's part of the reason why environmentalists are so concerned with forests and oceans, because cold oceans and big forests, they suck in all of that carbon and hold it. And the third thing that we want to do is we want to, again, pass it on. So everything that we know, we want to talk about, we want to create local solutions. One of the interesting things you're going to find is we hear a lot of talk, especially through the COVID, about, you know, global government, the United Nations, federal government, but most of what is happening at sustainability is actually happening in your cities. Your mayor is the linchpin to having sustainability really happen. So let's look at how we reduce our carbon emissions. So the first thing that we need to do is rethink our relationship with food. In Canada, these are current numbers, 58% of food is wasted. That means out of every, let's use a silly example, out of every 100 apples, 58 of them go in the garbage. It doesn't matter if they were imported, it doesn't matter if they were grown. That's the percentage overall of food that is wasted. Now, food waste is a double whammy. What happens is not only is the energy and the effort to grow it, the fertilizers, the oil or gasoline to grow it or plow the fields or to pick it and to transport it, but once food becomes waste, it can go into two things. So you've got a rotten apple in your kitchen. There are two things you can do with it. You can put it in the compost or you can put it into the garbage. Let's say that you put it in the garbage because you don't know it's a rotten apple. What happens is that apple goes into an anaerobic process in the dump, in the garbage dump, and it creates methane. And methane's not good. So we hear a lot about carbon. Carbon is like it's 30 degrees out and you put a sweater on. And so you're kind of warm. Methane is like it's 30 degrees out and you put your ski jacket and your boots on. It makes things really warm. It's a very good insulator. And not good. So let's say you understand this, and so you behave better and you take that apple and you put it into the compost. Well, what happens sometimes is the compost truck comes to your apartment building or your home and it picks up all that compost and it takes it and it's like, oh, compost is kind of full, or they went home today and they dump it in the garbage. And so really what we want to do is we want to have as little as possible go into waste at all. You want to eat that food, you want to do local composting, you want to kind of start to use it. And part of that's called regenerative agriculture. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on, some things that you can do. So then we live in Canada. It's really cold. We are one of the highest energy uses in the world, and a lot of it is because it's really cold. But Efficiency Canada says that we can achieve 40% of our Paris Climate Agreement targets just by improving the efficiency of buildings. And so if you have venues, and I think a few of you here do, you're a LEED certified venue, one of the things that you need to do is create that efficiency. But we can also retrofit older buildings to ensure that they become more energy efficient. And people say it's expensive. It is, but I'm not sure what the cost of creating a new planet is, so I'm thinking it's a good alternative. The third thing is something that for a while I used to walk around and say, all of this sustainability stuff is really just like common sense. Like my grandmother and my mother would say to me, well, why are you throwing that away? You could use it. Or, why are you buying that new? You've got this, this, and this. And I found a World War II advertising program that was put into place. It was the Department of War. I guess in the US at that time, they had a Department of War. And they came up with an advertising slogan that was use it up, wear it out, make do. And I think we need to start embracing that. And it kind of fits with our tendency these days to look at minimalism. And I think some of the things that we can do in our industry is creating lending libraries. We tend to say new event, we go out and we start to get everything new, and that cost is often passed on to the client. But what we can start to do is rethink how we reuse things, and maybe make that a little bit of an industry-wide initiative. I know I've had some conversations with industry leaders about that. So carbon emissions. Now we're going to talk about carbon sinks. And this is not the sink in your kitchen. And I have practiced explaining this a few times. And if I lose you, you can ask me all the questions, all the questions you want. Basically, sequestering carbon is anything that we take that locks it in. So you want to use things like regenerative agriculture, forests. This year, people think, oh, we live in Canada and there's forests everywhere. But the reality is the Canadian boreal forest is considered one of the most threatened after the Amazon. Why? Because we have this love of premium paper products. 40,000 trees are chopped down every single day in order to make premium toilet paper, which mostly we sell to the US, but here in Canada, we use our fair share too. So, one of my big beefs in the first TSEF that we had, we handed out as our giveaway was recycled toilet paper, unwrapped, just so that people could see. It doesn't feel like sandpaper. You can't even tell the difference. Why are we not using this? So we are chopping down these beautiful old trees, which are already under stress, and we're using them. Now, people say, well, they replant again, but I'm going to use the calorie thing again. If you have a little sapling and you have a great big huge tree, which one do you think sequesters more carbon? It's going to be the older tree. So this replanting, it's just never going to keep up, right? It's like eating Twinkies and going for a walk around the block. It's kind of a losing scenario. You're never going to make up the default. The other thing is ocean. So what's happening is carbon is sucked into the ocean and pulled down into the depths. And there's a lot of carbon at the bottom of the ocean. As that ocean warms up and gets dirtier, the carbon's bubbling to the top. So we're creating this reverse cycle that we want to see happen. So we want to invest in in those three things that are natural ways to capture carbon, but also carbon capture is going to become a big industry. And it's going to become something that, for example, for TSEF, in October, you buy trees to offset your energy usage. And we have it right in there with the registration. You purchase your registration, buy your trees, away you go. Brad, our little farmer in northern Alberta, is going to plant the trees in Saskatchewan. Everyone's happy. So buildings, carbon capture, and biochar. And these are, I sort of want to throw these out there because they're peripheral to our industry, but they're going to become common speak. The issue is if you have an investment portfolio or you work in those industries, you want to support that as emerging industries so that they can catch up. We right now have a little bit of, we have a little bit of a problem in that we've built up too much carbon and we need to claw back. So the next thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about all the things that people tell me are reasons why they can't work on the environment, especially right now. So I'm a big fan of social justice. Grew up very open-minded, and I believe that there are some great causes that we have on racial justice, poverty issues, access to resources. Obviously, COVID is encompassing us right now. Health and safety is very important. I have a niece and a sister who are nurses. They're in the thick of it. And we have an economic crisis that we're all living through right now. But the reality is there is no social justice on a dead planet. There's no health and safety on a dead planet. And there's certainly no money or events on a dead planet. So we have these issues, and I talk about them like three legs of a stool. You have to have social justice, yes. You have to have health and safety, yes. But you have to have a clean, functional, living planet. And the way that we're going is, I don't want to scare anybody on a Monday morning, but we need to get our act together. Things aren't actually that great. And you've seen it in the news. Well, we took a lockdown. Climate change did not take a lockdown. The people right now who are clear cutting the Brazilian forest, they did not take a lockdown. So the other objection that I hear is, well, I'm not an expert. Great, because don't tell the experts I said this, but I figure if the experts had it all figured out, we'd have made more progress by now. But that's not fair. The truth is, this is an everyone in issue. We're all on the same boat here. And you're going to think, well, I'm just one person. What difference can I make? Well, you need to collaborate with other people, but your voice might be the voice that someone needs to hear today or tomorrow. It's overwhelming. Yes, I'm too busy. I'm too stressed. This is hard. Yeah. Which is part of the reason why we created the Sustainable Events Forum, and we use a 4-pillar system. So we say educate, we're always learning, trying to figure out more, trying to figure out how to do more better. We want to inspire each other, right? I'm inspired every day by these young people. I was just learning about the Earth Suds project at a Canadian university. These people fill me with hope, and I'm a mom, so I want to take care of this for my kids and for your kids. Collaborate. We absolutely believe that we've got to collaborate across industries, with competitors, with suppliers, but mostly, and it's the most important step, is we have to take action. So I know you're going to ask me for this, so I got it ready in advance, is the top 10 things. Everybody always wants a top 10. So take a picture of this if you want. It's pretty self-explanatory. And what I will say is on the last slide, which is actually the next slide, is my contact information. And here's my promise to you. So I'm part of the Sustainable Events Forum committee. There are about, I think it's 9, Maureen, or maybe 10 of us. And the promise that I make to you is whatever issue you're facing will help you find the people who are working on that issue, and we'll help you try and find solutions for that issue. Because if I go zero waste, completely sustainable tomorrow, and there are people in our industry who are pioneers from years ago who have now moved out onto farms, they've become sustainable farmers and have basically cut themselves off from society, which I understand. It was overwhelming for them, but it doesn't help anyone. So let's look at this homework society. I'm going to concentrate on the work and society items because I think we've got lots of ideas for home. You should be talking to your venues about this. On our tsef.ca website, we have a list of questions that you can add to your RFPs. And yes, you use lots of energy doing these virtual events. How you can buy trees, happy to introduce you to our supplier. We'll help whatever way we can. You should do an energy audit, and there are great programs online. You just Google carbon calculator, you'll find hundreds of them. And please buy recycled paper and recycled toilet paper. Please, 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 it's my personal ask. But put into place some purchasing guidelines so that, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just say we're going to buy recycled as our first option, right? Yes, you will pay a little more, so use less. I don't know. For society, we've all seen the growth of advocacy, and the ladies talked about the growth of advocacy in our industry as part of our growth as an industry through COVID. Right? We've had to stand up and advocate for ourselves. I'm asking you to advocate for the planet. These beautiful forests and streams and our Canadian winters are in danger. They're going to disappear. While we aren't the biggest net contributor per person, we have the highest carbon emissions in the world. So I think it behooves us to do everything that we can, set a good example. We want to protect that natural beauty that we all enjoy. So that's that's the Coles Notes version that I was going to give you guys today. And now I hope you have some really tough questions for us, because that's where we sort of have the most fun. And I'm gonna, I can leave that up for just a minute, but Michelle, there you are.
Hi, Natalie. I thought I'd come and join you again. Thank you so much for your presentation and providing us that platform of education. It really is on us to take that in action and influence others, and we can all make a difference with that small action, or even just change in thought process, focusing on sustainability. So we will open it up to any questions. If anyone has anything for Natalie, please type away. There is the event chat group as well, which will remain open for the duration of the event. Continue speaking with your colleagues, and we also have the Rethink Lounge that's open for the duration of the event. So Natalie, if you have some time to stick around and network with our attendees or enter the lounge, that would be fantastic for the opportunity to meet some of those here with us today.
Absolutely. So I have a question for you guys, is that, so what change could you potentially make? And Michelle, I'm going to start with you. Like, what did you hear today that you could potentially use to make a change tomorrow?
Yeah, I think with the, working from home adjustment, I've really needed to refocus on the energy sources that are coming into my space. I now live in this multi-complex of an at-home office, an at-home gym, an entertainment space, a living room, a kitchen, and just those day-to-day actions of, spending that time to really focus on waste diversion, or unplugging my laptop at night so that the office isn't open all day. And I would think those are steps that I'm taking in my changed environment to hope that I am making a difference, and then bring those back to the work environment or my office when I do return.
Yeah, it's I sometimes forget, like, I watch the energy usage quite a bit. I'm really careful about food scraps. And we're really careful about food waste. Obviously, we've been working on this a while. We actually interviewed a young grad student, Seth Wines, who's now at Concordia in Montreal. And Seth published a book called SOS, and it was simple, easy things. And actually, the items that I used at the front, I have to give credit to Seth. he did this thing where he said our perception of what really works is different than what actually works. And it brought home again to me today that we really have to get active. And we all, it's kind of a Canadian thing. It's like, oh, we don't want to discuss, what are the three? I think it's like sex, religion, and politics. The environment's not a political issue. It's a survival issue. And we need to really start talking about it, because otherwise we're going to be rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, right? And this message only gets more strident every year. And nobody would wish this COVID pandemic on anyone. Nobody would wish it on anyone. But we can use the lessons that we now understand about our ability to work together as a group and our communication abilities and the resilience, and we can use those as lessons to work on health and safety, poverty issues, social justice, and of course environmental issues. So I think we've become a little bit more thoughtful, and that we're and there are things now like the Canadian government is about to sign a trade agreement with Brazil. I'm not sure if anyone in the group is aware. Brazil is where the Amazon forest is that's being clear cut. Their president right now has kind of opened the floodgates and allowed all of this clear cutting. So if you want to make your voice heard, reach out to your MP and tell them, what is Brazil doing to protect the rainforest, and make it conditional on us signing this trade agreement. And we're not used to thinking that way, but it's how we're going to have to start. I mean, I think that's what this pandemic has sort of opened us up to, is we're looking around the world and saying, who's doing what, and how do we do the best thing for ourselves as well as the global citizenry. So I'm not getting any questions at all. So I hope that they didn't all fall asleep on me. So.
Or you've answered them all, Natalie, or you've answered them. We've definitely enjoyed our time. We've had people stay on throughout the session, so thank you for dropping in. I really think, 2020, we've taken that time to sort of slow down, and the silver lining is we can reinvent ourselves and recreate ourselves. And I think sustainability is one of those topics that right now we have that perfect opportunity to put that focus onto it. So Natalie, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I'm glad we were able to hear you, see you, and share your presentation. I hope to cross paths with you in the other areas of our platform today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much,
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.